Discuss ways to help your children excel in literacy. And we want to welcome back Cray Francis, an educational consultant. And you might remember she wrote the book Honeydew's Carnival Fever. It's a chapter book for kids ages 7 and older. Thank you so much for joining us again. We love having you here. So let's talk about the cultural literacy curriculum, how it can empower students and improve their reading and writing skills.
Okay, so about 10 years ago, I decided to embark on this career called education. And, you know, I didn't know what really went into educating children until I was actually in the classroom.
Right.
Started out in New York City as an elementary school teacher, and then later I decided, you know what, I want to go into school leadership. So I actually went to Teachers College, Columbia University in New York City, and graduated with a second master's in school building leadership and education management. And so that led me on a path to try to understand more about students and what impacts their learning. And one of the things I found over the maybe 4 or 5 years is that students seem to bring out their best work when you are validating their cultural experiences.
Right.
And as educators, I think it behooves us to make sure that we're reaching students where they are and for who they are. And so one of the things I've used as an educator is I've written my own stories, and hence here's my book, Honeydew's Carnival Fever, which comes out of my own stories.
So you started your career in New York, basically, with your education, but you're originally from Antigua, is that right?
Yes, okay. I was born and raised in Antigua until I was about 8 years of age. And then I moved to New York City in the Bronx. So the curriculum that I wrote actually would, I guess, address someone like me if I was a child. And one of the goals of the curriculum is not only to address children of different cultural backgrounds, but also to address students who are struggling readers and struggling writers. So I was very thoughtful and purposeful when I created the curriculum.
So this is much more engaging, it sounds like.
Yes. Right now, Common Core standards are what teachers have to adhere to in terms of developing their curriculum and their lessons. So what I've done is I've taken a regular elementary literacy curriculum, reading fiction, which all elementary students have to do, and also writing a personal narrative. And I said, you know what, instead of just using any old book, how about you're more thoughtful? Think about the students who are in your classroom, and if they represent a particular cultural background, then I'm going to bring in a text that I'm going to use as a mentor text for that reading and writing curriculum, so that students are able to make connections to the text.
Excellent. So this is something that you do with your students in the classroom, and then you have workshops outside of that as well?
Right. So part of Common Core and balanced literacy, there's something called the workshop model. And what that entails is that teachers are very purposeful. They're very explicit with their instruction. So they may do a I do mini lesson where children are expected to follow along with what you're teaching them.
Right.
And then you'll say, okay, Miss Francis or whomever the teacher is, let's work together to go through the lesson step by step. And then you have children break off. They may turn and talk, or they may go do independent tasks to get the work done. And so the way I've written the curriculum is very explicit.
Yeah.
It's about 66 pages worth of lessons. There's 25 days of reading lessons, and there's 20 days of a writing lesson. And so by the end of the curriculum, students will have created their own personal narratives, bringing out their own cultural experiences.
Wonderful. We're going to put some information up. So Teacher Cray is available for hosting cultural literacy workshops at schools and academic programs, and you can contact her by your email. It's the number 1, teachercray@gmail.com. You can see it on your screen there. And then her website is Cray-Mahalia Francis.com, and for more information you can always go to WBTV.com and look in the web extras section on the homepage. Thank you so much for being here. I love this idea.
I love coming here.
All right, back to you, Delana.
All right, thank you. Now, new tonight.